What's up, guys? It's your boy Darkskin, and today I'm going to be talking about which is better, defense or resistance. Now, a lot of people have been asking, yo, Darkskin, which one is better for me to build? What's better for me to use? Yada, yada, yada. So I actually did a little bit of research and did some searching to find out the damage calculation equation, just so I could show you guys why not only defense but also attack, but this is mainly defense versus resistance, because I feel like people understand that attack is better than pierce rate. So it's the same thing with we'll get into it. So anyways, if you guys don't know, you know, my Valenti has max resistant rolls, right? But I also built her triple defense. The reason why is because since I have resistant sub rolls, her defense is not going to be as high as it could be. Now, Valenti does have good base stats. Her defense is pretty good for like at base level. But with that triple defense, I'm getting 60% increase on her defense, right? 20, 20, 20, right? Boom, boom, boom. So I'm getting 60% defense, plus that gets multiplied by the resistance whenever you get into damage calculation. So that way you understand, you know, why she's so tanky and why she can tank so much damage on top of her passive. Now, generally, with any other character in the game, there's literally no other character in the game that I would build resistance for, except one other character, which I wouldn't even recommend going resistance on this character. But if you got like a really high resistance roll, say you like randomly roll like a 6%, you could keep it when it comes to this one single character, and that character is Gowther. And the reason why is because Gowther's defensive stats are naturally super high. And what I mean by that, if you look at his stats, right? Gowther naturally has 70% resistance. I have no resistance gear on him. None. All of this is all defensive subs. So Gowther naturally has 70% resistance. If you look at my Valenti with max res gear, she has 93. So imagine, right? Imagine Gowther with this resistance gear on, right? Gowther's defense is around the same, right? Nothing crazy, but his resistance is 130. If I put Guild Thunder in the 4th slot, it becomes 160, and with res food, it's 190. It's safe to say Gowther has the highest resistance in the game, base. So with that being how it is, Gowther having resistance is perfectly fine. Not to mention, like I said, he has a really good defensive stat. He has good crit resistance as well, and the reason why that is because of his passive. If he doesn't take damage, all of his allies get increased attack, but by 10% stacks 5 times. So that's why Gowther has high resistance, because obviously you calculate the resistance along with everything else that's going on. That's why a lot of people on JP went triple resistance UR gear. Now, I don't think that's worth it, simply because of HP giving so much more combat class, on top of you don't really need to patience Gowther out. Patience people out with Gowther. Like Gowther's completely fine with HP defense, right? You don't have to go resistance on him. You could, but it's definitely not worth it. Now getting into why this is how it is, right? Because like Gowther's probably one of the only units in the game that will ever patience a unit. Like say you have normal gear, right? Like I have HP defense gear on Gowther with defensive sub rolls. Gowther is probably the only unit in the game that will patience a unit all out. Now, obviously, if you ult with Gria more, or if you use Valenti, or if you do this or that, yeah, you can do it, but that's based off of skills and passives and abilities. Gowther, flat out base, can patience some of these units out in this game, and that's because of his resistance. Now, let's talk about why that is. I have the, if you look on screen, I have the equation. This is the equation to calculate damage. Now, it is going to be your, let's just go to a random unit. I know that it's up over the screen, but you can still see. It is your attack stat, right, multiplied by your card percent, and then if you crit, right, let's say you crit, then you'll multiply your crit damage, which you don't have to do for most units, because most units are not critting like that. Obviously you can if you want to, but then after you after you do attack, your base attack stat times your card percent, you will minus that by the defense, just the base defense, right? Then you'll take that number and you'll multiply that times the elemental damage. Obviously, type neutral 0, you multiply, it'll be, you don't do anything. If it's type advantage, it's 50% increase, and if it's type disadvantage, it's 50% decrease. That is how you calculate the damage. Now, after you get that number, then you will add it towards attack times pierce minus defense times resistance. So in this equation, you are using attack and defense 2 times to get 2 different numbers to calculate the total damage that has been done. A lot of people don't understand that this is how damage is calculated. That's why whenever people are like, well, Darskin, what sub-roll should I go, or what gear should I go, I always tell you go attack and defense, because HP is gives you the highest combat class, but damage dealers need attack, so you go attack over HP. But anyways, not only does attack and defense give you the most combat class out of all the other subs besides HP, it goes HP first, attack second, defense third. Between all of the stats, those are the ones that give the most, right? They're the biggest numbers, so obviously they give more. But yeah, attack and defense give you the most combat class, number 1, and number 2, the higher that number, the more it's getting implemented in this equation. Obviously, like I said, you're going to be using attack times the card percent, and you're going to also be using attack times percent, and then you'll be using defense time. Well, you're going to be minusing the first part by defense, and you're going to be doing the second part by defense times resistance. Now, for units like Gother, the reason why he patiences a lot of units, since his resistance is so high, right? It's basically like, let's say your defense is 5,000, right? Let's say your defense is 5,000. 5,000 times 3 is only 15,000. Or, I'm just using it as an example. It's not that high. But if you do 5,000 times 15 or 5,000 times 20, it's going to be a much bigger number. So even though my king has 30% resistance, right? So let's say 7,000 defense times 30% resistance, it's cool and all. But then if you multiply 7,000 defense times 70% resistance, that is going to be way bigger. And that's why Gother patience out a lot of units, right? Not to mention, like I said, Valenti's base defense is really good. I have defense gear, and she has high res. That's why she patiences out a lot of units. That is the exact same reason why Blue Demon Meliodas does so much damage, because his pierce rate is getting tripled, right? Let's go to Meliodas. Where is man, I can never find this unit, I'm telling you guys. Okay, there he is. Meliodas, right? Meliodas' base pierce rate is 53%, which is a really good pierce rate. But generally, you would just go attack defense on him with attack subs, because that pierce rate is not that, it doesn't matter. But with his attack card, it gets tripled. So now he has like 160% pierce rate. So now you do his attack stat times the card, which is 100%, and then you multiply crit damage, because he does crit a lot. Obviously minus defense, then element, we'll multiply times element, and then you got to do his attack stat by 160% pierce rate, and that's why he does dumb damage. The same thing with Escanor. Escanor's Escanor's pierce rate is just naturally high, right? 100%. So you're going to be doing his attack stat by the card percentage, then crit damage if he crits, minus defense, element, and then you're going to be doing his attack stat by this large, like super huge pierce rate percent, and that's why he does so much damage. So to answer you guys' question, attack is better than pierce, defense is better than resistance. There's only a select few amount of units that use pierce rate over attack, which would be Lilia because of her passive, Blue Demon Melee because of his attack card, and then Hauser because of his attack card. As far as defense and resistance, there are 2 units in the game that you want to run resistance on, or that would be beneficial. Obviously, you need to run resistance on Valenti, and running resistance on Gother is not that bad. That's exactly how it is. For any of you guys that have been wondering all this time why me and these other people say, you know, go attack, go defense, etc., this is why. So anyways, that's going to be it for this video. Be sure to give it a like, subscribe to the channel if you're new, comment down below, tell me what you guys think in the comment section below. That being said, I will see you guys next time. Peace.